Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film Night of the Hunted. It's a Shudder original film and it's coming to Shudder on Friday, October 20th. So this is a no spoiler review. Synopsis is going to give a bunch of it away just because if you've seen the trailer, you're going to know a lot about this movie, and there's not a lot to this movie, very unfortunately. I'm going to say something a lot of people who have been watching my channel for a while will understand what I mean by this. Every film is watching at least once, just at least to figure out how you personally feel about it. Just because this is my opinion of the film doesn't mean it will be your opinion of the film. And with all these films that I review, I always hope that they find their audience. Because film is a tough thing to do, and I appreciate the work that goes into it. But I'm also very honest with my reviews. So a lot of people will know that that means I did not like this movie. I didn't like this movie much at all. But there were some positives. I always talk about the negatives and the positives. Let's get into it. This one's directed by Franck Khalfoun, who also did P2, which I heard is pretty solid. Haven't seen that one. I need to check it out. Wrong Turn at Tahoe, the 2012 Maniac, which I've also heard is pretty good. Amityville: The Awakening, haven't heard anything about that, and Prey, not the Predator movie Prey that was on Hulu, a different one. Written by Khalfoun as well as Ruben Avila Calvo and Glen Freyer. Again, Shudder original coming Friday, October 20th. So quick synopsis. It's about a woman. Her name is Alice. She's got something going on in her life. I'm not going to tip my hat to what that is. Because there is some backstory that ends up being revealed in this as it goes on. And she is coming back home from a conference, stops at a gas station, and some things go very, very wrong at the gas station. So much so that she's stuck there. So there have been a bunch of movies like this. I think probably my favorite of a person being stuck at a gas station was probably the horror movie Splinter. Really love that one in particular. It's a great location because it could be super secluded. Now, that said, I think some of the stuff that they did with it, they used the location well, personally. But the script in general is the biggest problem with this movie. Because there are some other good things about it. But let's get into it. The very opening scene of this before the title card is pretty flat. But you do feel like it may be pointing to kind of like, excuse me, maybe pointing to kind of like an underlying theme that they're going to end up, explaining a little bit more as the film goes on. And it's correct. It's part of it. They actually kind of have like a theme diarrhea in this movie to a degree where they're just trying to throw so much stuff at the audience that gets talked about in a very plain way to the point where you're just like, are we just going to hit everything? But I'll talk a little bit more about that when I come to it in my notes. It doesn't take long for something major to go down, though, so that's nice. The fact that the beginning is kind of flat, but then they don't take a whole lot to get to something major going on is good. I mean, obviously, I would have liked a more interesting beginning, but it makes up for it the fact that they don't wait too long to actually like get into something more intense. So I do like that aspect of it. That pacing early on is pretty good. There's definitely stuff for which you'll need to suspend your disbelief. Very unfortunately, this is definitely one of those movies that some people will watch and be like, that's not realistic. That's not realistic. So you just got to go with it if you want to watch it. I'm just saying, just go with it. I'm not recommending this really, but like I said, everyone should watch a movie at least once just to figure out how they feel about it. There are a few rough performances in this one, unfortunately. Now, I will say that I wrote her name down. Camille Rowe, who plays the main character of Alice, I think she did all she could. I think she did a good job. She had a good performance. She did the most work with the dialogue that she was given to deliver as she could. I feel bad for her with this movie. It's not a great movie in my opinion, and I kind of feel like her talent was really wasted on it, unfortunately. But hey, maybe someone who wants to work with her in the future will see this film and be like, hey, you were really good in that film. The film wasn't great, but you did a nice job. So hopefully this leads to her getting more work, because I think she did a nice job. But yeah, there are some rough performances in this. So much so that you'll kind of be like, oh. And in contrast to what she's able to do, it makes those other performances kind of seem even worse, unfortunately. There is something that happens that's supposed to be a twist, but it's very blatantly obvious well before it's actually revealed. Kind of one of the big stories with this movie, as far as the writing's not great. They telegraph things way too much. Not only do they telegraph things too much, but there's this issue of telling versus seeing, where, especially with a film, and a lot of times with literature, you want to show and not tell. Having characters come out and say a lot of the things, say the thematic stuff, say the subtext to the face of the audience is not the best. It's not the best way for things to play out. It makes things way less interesting, and it also feels like the filmmaker's trying to beat you over the head and treat you like an idiot at the same time. They kind of like, if we made this subtext, I don't think you idiots would be able to get it. That's kind of what it ends up feeling like to me. That said, that's my personal opinion. I know there have been people, when I've said that about movies, who have then commented and said, I really like things super straightforward, because then I can just kind of relax. I don't want to have to pick things apart. So I also get that. I'm just talking from my perspective. The dialogue is not well written, and the content of it is mostly pointless. Other than the stuff that's so in your face, and direct about what they're trying to do with this film, which it's not a bad idea what they're trying to do with the film. It's just the script is so poorly done that it's just, you're kind of like, why do we even have this movie? At least I was kind of like, this doesn't even need to exist at this point. I understand what they were going for from like a societal standpoint, like societal ills thing, but it wasn't done well at all, unfortunately. But a lot of the other dialogue that's in there, you're just kind of like, honestly, I would have preferred if there was not dialogue in this. Look to a movie like No One Will Save You. There's barely any dialogue in that entire movie, and it's riveting. Look at this one. There's a ridiculous amount of dialogue for very little going on, and it is, in my opinion, boring. Just saying. The majority of this movie will have you saying, so what? So what? Why are we doing this? Why was this film made? Who gave money to this? It all goes back to the script. Because the other thing is, it's directed fine. It has decent cinematography. The music is good. I appreciated the score. And the score's not too heavy-handed either. So kudos on having a nice, restrained, well-composed score for this film that actually does add to it. It's just the bones aren't there. The structure's not there. The story wasn't fleshed out enough. And it feels like this whole movie is kind of geared towards wasting time, unfortunately. It's like an hour and 36 minutes with credits, and it's too much. If there's a horror movie that's about an hour and a half and it feels like it's too long, that's not good. It means maybe this would have been better off being a short film. This would have been actually pretty decent as a short film, honestly, but it is so stretched out, and it doesn't need to be, unfortunately. It throws out a lot of societal issues in the real plain way that makes you feel like a filmmaker thinks you're stupid. I kind of already talked about that. That is one thing that big time irks me. And there are ways to kind of do these things in between. Don't just say out loud, but then also just like keep repeating it. Because that's the other thing, is you just keep repeating this stuff out loud. And you're just like, I got it the first time. Can we stop with this, please? Time wasting again. There is some shaky camera work in this, but I actually do feel like it fits for the film and the situations that they're using it within. So a lot of the times I'll kind of dog on, that shakier camera work. I think it's actually properly used here, which goes to what I was saying. Cinematography is good. Direction is good. It's just the script. Again, score is pretty good. I did enjoy that. The movie feels like it just lives to waste your time, unfortunately. This movie shows no restraint with the dialogue and theme, and that was sorely needed. We really needed so much more restraint with this movie, very unfortunately. It is too long for what it is. The pacing is not good. Like I said, beginning pacing pretty solid, and then pretty much until the last, 10, 15 minutes, the pacing is pretty poor. And you will have yourself asking many times, like I said, so what? Why are we doing this? Why are we taking so much time to get where we're going? And when you get to the ending, for what they were trying to do, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't that good. So you're just kind of like, I walked away from this movie and I'm just kind of like, why? Why? who said yes? I don't know. And I think this is one of the movies that I got a press release on when it was obtained by Shudder. So I think they already had seen the film and then they obtained it. And I was like, who is making this? Whatever. And I've seen movies like this before. I'm not going to name it because it would give too much away about what's really going on with the movie. But there was another film like this years ago that was on Shudder, actually, that did this in a much better way. Much better way. But anyway, I think it was by Ryuhei Kitamura, potentially, actually. But you can look it up if you really want to figure it out. But regardless, out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm giving this a 1.5 star rating. I'm giving it that extra half just because there were some good technical things. But I thought about just going 1 star. But I'll be nice, 1.5 stars on this one. Do not really recommend. But this is where I'd love to hear your opinions on the film, especially if they're differing from mine. Go ahead and put it in the comments and tell me. Give me like a sentence or two. Why do you like it? Why do you not like it? Why do you feel kind of middling on it? Maybe I missed something. Maybe there was something that really hit for you that you want to talk about. So this is the time to do it, and the comments is the place. And we can talk spoilers in the comments. That's totally fine. Do me a big favor. Hit the like for this. Hit the subscribe button for my channel. That's your best way to repay me for the free content. And also you can hit the notification bell button because then you'll know when I'm putting out new videos, which is at least 3 a week. During October, doing even more. But regardless, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.